In this video, we'll be learning what characterizes and what defines an arithmetic sequence. Now, an arithmetic sequence is a sequence of numbers in which to get from any one term to the next, we always add the same amount. For instance, if we were given the sequence 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, 23, and so on. Well, looking at this sequence as we go from one term to the next, going from left to right, we can see that we are always adding the same amount. And in this case, we're always adding 4. Now, this amount that we always add is known as the common difference. And I will just write that here, common difference. And we usually refer to the common difference of an arithmetic sequence by the letter D. So for this particular arithmetic sequence, we could go ahead and write D is equal to 4. And I'll just box that. Another sequence could be the following. Let's say we were given 22, 19, 16, 13, 10, and so on. Well, again, let's look at this sequence going from left to right. We can see that to get from one term to the next, in this case, we're always subtracting the same amount. And in this case, we're always subtracting 3. But now it's important to remember that when we say we're subtracting 3, that means exactly the same thing as we're adding negative 3. So for this particular sequence, the common difference D would be equal to negative 3. And again, I'll just box that. Do remember that if you find that you're subtracting to get from one term to the next, and that the amount that you're subtracting is always the same, that means that the sequence is an arithmetic sequence, and that the common difference D will be negative. Like in this case, we found that we were subtracting 3, which means that the common difference is D equals to negative 3. Now let's look at another sequence. Let's say we were given the following: 4, 9, 14, 17, 22, and so on. Well, looking at this sequence, as we go from left to right, we can see that to get from the first to the second term, we're adding 5. The second to the third term, we're adding 5 again. But now, to get from the third to the fourth term, we're adding 3. And then to get from the fourth term to the fifth term, we're adding 5 again. Now, it's important to note this. Because we're adding 3 to get from the third to the fourth term, this sequence is not arithmetic. Remember, a sequence is arithmetic if we are always adding the same amount to get from one term to the next. So this particular case, this is not arithmetic. And it does not have a common difference. So I'll just write no common difference. Now, another way of defining an arithmetic sequence is with the following formula. We could write that arithmetic sequences are defined or characterized by this recursive formula. un plus 1 equals to un plus d. And in fact, I'll go ahead and box that because you're more than likely to see this again. Now, although this may look a little daunting, the key thing to understand here is that all this is saying is that to get from one term to the next, we always have to add the common difference. For instance, if un were u3, then un plus 1 would be u4. In other words, u4 equals to u3 plus d, which is just saying that the fourth term equals to the third term plus d, which makes sense. In the same way, it could be even the second term, u2, equals to the first term plus d. Or it could be the 10th term, u10 equals to u9 plus d. That's all this recursive formula is saying. So in summary, an arithmetic sequence is characterized and defined by the fact that to get from any one term to the next, we always add the same amount. That amount is known as the common difference, and we usually refer to it with the letter D.